Welcome to Golden Hour Adventures. Today's guest is the one and only Justin.
I didn't know where this was going.
I was thinking what I was going to say, then you know how it goes.
Yeah, I sure do.
Lose that train of thought. I was going to do some big thing, but it's Justin and I. But Justin just did something. You might know. I don't know much. Heard a little bit about it yesterday, so I always try to wait because I like to hear it while we're doing these race recaps. Then I get to hear all of it all at once.
Yeah, man, I feel like I'm always the one doing race recaps. When are you going to jump in and do a race recap for yourself?
I don't know.
I feel like I need to pressure you into doing some stuff so we can get Robbie's side of race recaps and not just mine. People are probably just really tired of listening to me do race recaps.
I'll get there. Before we hit record, we were talking about some things maybe in November for me, but we'll see.
Okay. I'm excited.
First day of training, so just finished up the run. So, of course, I've got the runner's high and feel like I can conquer the world, but...
Yeah. Well, I haven't run in a week, so there's that.
I haven't ran all year. Well, take that back.
Here's a funny story. So me and Robbie, we sign up for this thing called Trans-America every year. And I only sign up for the half of America, which is 12-12, obviously. And Robbie signed up for the 2000...
400 and something.
I don't remember what it is.
Yeah,
but
it's double the half, whatever.
Yeah,
so.
24, I think is what it is.
Yeah.
How many miles do you have?
Let's look. I'll look right now.
Oh, this is going to be hilarious.
I think it's under 500. I think it's under 500.
5. Okay. Because I just finished my 12-12, so I don't get super high miles throughout the year. I think 18 is kind of my standard that I get throughout the year, but I think I just hit 13. But Robbie signed up for the 24, and I think he has this number. What is it?
It is 212.9.
All right, so how many more miles? You need 2,200 miles by the end of the year.
Yeah.
I feel like you got this. And what'd you do today?
I did 3 miles today.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I got it.
I think you need to go out for like 30 more when we get done with this.
Let's see. I got 24.
Oh, he's doing trail
Doing
math here.
So I got 22:11 to go.
22:11.
Now what? I got 3 months.
Yeah, around about.
So I need to do 737 miles a month.
You got this, dude. Just quit.
Yeah.
Just quit your job. Just tell them that you have important things going on. You have to run 700 miles a month. Oh my gosh.
What does that come out to be? Let's see.
A day?
Yeah.
Or trail math.
Yeah. It's like 25 miles a day. Oh, that's nothing.
You got
Just a
this,
marathon
dude.
for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean, what's her name did a 50K for 200 days straight. I feel like you got this, dude. Just jump right into it.
Yeah. I'm going to do it.
Oh
Yeah,
my
right.
gosh. Too funny. Well, I'm excited to see where this training block takes you, and hopefully we get some announcements soon on what you're training for.
Yeah. It's time to get back at it.
I'm excited.
I took pretty much the whole year off so far.
Yeah. I would say
the
so.
farthest run I've done is at Bandera with you.
Yeah.
Whatever that was, 25 miles?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, because you didn't make it the full 30
No.
for the loop. Yeah. I think probably about 25 because you stopped at that, like, there was like 4 miles to go, I think. So maybe a little bit more than 25, but yeah, cool.
All right, let's just jump into your adventure that you had last week.
Yeah, I ran the Oregon Cascades 100.
Another hundo.
Another hundo. The goal was to do 200s in a calendar year. I hadn't done it yet, and I wanted to do two hundos in the calendar year. So figured this year was a good year to do it. I did the White Mountains, obviously, in March. You guys heard the race recap on that one. If you haven't, go back and listen to it. It's a pretty cool adventure, maybe a once-in-a-lifetime adventure. And then I wanted something kind of later in the year, November timeframe, but a class that I have to attend, mandatory attendance, popped up, so I had to cancel what I was going to run, which was Rio del Lago 100 in California. And Oregon Cascades popped up. It worked for my schedule, so I put it on the list, and the rest is history.
I've never heard of the race before. Do you know how long it's been around?
This was the 4th year they ran it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's a newer race.
It is a newer race, yeah.
Who puts that on?
Alpine Running.
Alpine Running.
Yeah, I don't know anything about them. They apparently are pretty established in the Oregon and Washington, California area. I don't actually know where they're based out of. I talked to the race directors a little bit. They were pretty cool people. I told them, I'm not sure if it's a husband and wife, or I don't know. I don't honestly know. It's a male and a female race director, but I'm not sure what the relation is with each other. But I talked to the guy, and I saw him at the finish line, and I thanked him for an awesome experience and a great race, and then I saw the list of stuff that they have, and all their banners and all kinds of cool stuff. So they're definitely established in that area. But yeah, they put on a phenomenal race. I mean, for only being the 4th year, it's a Western States qualifier. I already had my qualifier out of the way, but it's a Western States qualifier. I think there was 255 people that towed the line. So, quite a popular race for just 4 years running it.
So you ran White Mountain in March. Then you did some other shorter races, right?
I did a marathon in June, I think. Yeah, June I did a marathon, but I don't think I've run anything. I don't think I ran an ultra since then. Just a marathon. Here I am, quote, just a marathon.
Just a marathon.
Yeah, just a marathon. That was part of the Alaska Double, where I ran the marathon in the morning, and then we drove back up to Fairbanks and did the Midnight Sun Run 10K that same day. So technically an ultra in the day, but
Yeah. Ultra driving.
yeah, ultra driving. Yeah, for sure.
So what was your training leading up to Oregon Cascade?
Yeah, so decided to put in some big miles, just like you always do when you have a big goal ahead. Put in some big miles, but some things came up that probably prohibited me from doing what I really wanted to do. I think my biggest week was probably 65 miles. I had a lot of travel this summer that I had to, go across the states. And, when you travel from Alaska to anywhere in the lower 48, it's an entire day of traveling. And so your body's wrecked. You don't want to go out and do anything. So, and then while you're, there, things just don't go the way you want them to. And so I'd have some high mile weeks, and then I'd drop down to a lower mile week, and then maybe go back up high mile. So, training wasn't ideal what I wanted it to be for this race, but that was okay because life happens, and as a coach, Robbie, you're a coach as well. That when things come up, it's life, and so we have to work around them and accept what's thrown at us and make the best of what we can. So, things came up throughout the weeks and through the months that I had this on the schedule, and it didn't pan out the way I wanted it to be. My goal was to do all the way up to a 100-mile week. I've never done a 100-mile week in training, and I really wanted to try it. It just didn't pan out that way because of scheduling and having to travel, and I think I traveled 3 or 4 times in this training block, and so that's a couple. And you always travel on the weekend, so that's a that's a full day that's taken out, as as opposed to being home, and I could actually got out and done some stuff. But I was able to get in some really quality runs, and so I think that's what really helped me get through Oregon Cascades. But I put in a couple. I did my peak week, as you would call it, quotations. The last week I did a trail marathon. Pretty much threw down a 20-miler every weekend where I could, but none of those big back-to-back runs that you would like to see. But yeah, did quite a few double weekends where we do a 3-hour run in the morning, 3-hour run in the afternoon, followed by maybe like a 2-hour run on Sunday. So I had some quality training in there, but it just really wasn't what I really wanted for this block. But in the end, it worked out, so didn't matter. I also did get somewhat of a little injury. I was able to work through it with my PT, but and it didn't really bother me during the race, so that was good. I think we had it pretty much taken care of, but it was I think an abductor strain on the inside of the thigh, and it was doing dry needling and strength training and scraping was able to kind of get that. But obviously that takes, when something like that pops up, you have to kind of curb your training as well and find other ways. So spend a lot of time and a lot of miles on a bike too. So all that combined, you don't get what you want, but like I said, that's life. Things happen.
Did you feel that like those big back-to-back training runs hurt you during this run?
What do you mean, as far as like that's what caused the injury?
No. Like you mentioned that you didn't get any, as many back-to-back long days as you wanted.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think, and we'll find out as we go through this, but I did really well at Oregon Cascades. And so I think just having experience in the 100-miler, this is my fifth 100, having experience coming off of a big training block from the White Mountain 100, not really like taking my foot off the pedal, just kind of maintaining throughout that whole time frame. I ran, like I said, I ran the marathon in June. I did a trail marathon in my peak week. I did multiple 20-milers, back to back weekends. So I think I had the training there, and it was there. And so I don't feel that the back-to-backs where I wanted them to be was that much of an issue. Yeah, of course, I really would have liked to go out and do a marathon on Saturday and maybe a 10 to 15 on Sunday, but sometimes it just doesn't work out like that, and that was the case with this training block.
As us being coaches, we like to put, those big back-to-back days when we can in the training calendar. So I was just interested to hear, how you went through it and didn't get those in there this time. But you said, you're still pretty consistent coming off of White Mountain, so you already had the fitness and you just kept going. As coaches, I like to use big back-to-back training days as, especially someone that's never ran a 100-miler, to let them know what that fatigue feels like the next day.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's really hard when someone doesn't know how they're going to feel. You can give them, an 18-miler on Saturday and a 16-miler on Sunday, and they're still going to feel that fatigue from Saturday, so they can start getting used to that I wouldn't say pain, but that lack of drive, motivation, all that stuff, that.
Yep.
And I've always, when I trained for my first 100, those big weekends were, I learned so much, having to wake up. And sometimes the way they would get structured, it's like, it would be Saturday would be an 18-miler in the afternoon. Then Sunday would be a 16-miler first thing in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have that much recovery, and I had to turn around and get back out on those tired legs and learn what that was all about. That was
Yeah, a couple of the weekends, what we did is it was a 3 hour in the morning on Saturday, and then you go home, you recover, and then 3 hours in the late afternoon, early evening on Saturday, followed by 2 hours on Sunday. And so, you're getting 8 hours of running on the weekend, 3 runs. You're definitely not recovered from your morning run when you start your afternoon run. And,
yeah.
and your motivation is definitely not there. I hated every minute of them, but I think they definitely played a big part in the success of this race.
I guess where I was going with this, I just wanted our listeners to, if you're training anything ultra, really, how those weekends that your coach might give you, and you go, oh, I'm going to be spending all my time out on the trail or whatever you're at, and I'm going to be away from family or life or whatever, that how much those just can really help drive your performance when it becomes race day. So us as coaches, we're not trying to be assholes and throw crazy shit at you all the time, but as Justin and I have both learned that those are very beneficial for especially hundreds.
For sure.
100Ks too. 50 milers and 50Ks they can be a little different, but anyways, let's move into travel to Oregon from Alaska.
Yeah, so travel is actually really easy for this one. So we got a good me and the wife traveled down with me. We got a really good flight out of Fairbanks. It was first thing in the morning, like 7 o'clock in the morning flight. We landed. We only flew to Seattle, so it was like a 3-hour flight. Landed in Seattle. Good friends, Nate and Lynnea. They picked us up in Seattle. They were coming down to the race with us, so they picked us up at SeaTac, and we drove down to our Airbnb in Bend. It was about a 6-hour drive from Seattle to Bend, so very easy travel. Nothing extreme in this one, so super easy. Got there on Thursday evening, so we got to rest Thursday evening. Friday was a chill day, kind of explored Bend, did packet pickup thing, got food and just did our thing throughout the day on Friday in prep for the start of the race on Saturday.
Is this your first 100 that started on a Saturday?
Actually, no. Rocky Raccoon was on Saturday.
Okay.
But yeah, two on Friday, one on Sunday randomly, and
yeah, that was a weird one.
And then 2 on Saturday.
So, how'd you sleep that Friday night?
Actually, normally I sleep just fine and I don't have any issues, but for some reason I didn't sleep well in this one, and I don't know why. I just was like, I think because it had such an early start. Normally the starts are kind of later, and I don't really have to worry about, waking up at a certain time. And this one was, I think, a 6 a.m. start. So it was about a 30-minute drive to the start from where we were. You had to go pick up your tracker before the race started. So, you need to be there 30, 40 minutes before the race starts. And then, so you got to prep before you go type thing. So I think that just tossing and turning throughout the night, something I haven't never done before. It was kind of weird. Normally I'm super calm. It still was calm. There's really no issues there, but just for some reason I didn't sleep well. I don't know. It was weird.
Huh. So you get your tracker, your bib. I guess you got did you get your bib the night before?
Yeah, so you picked up your bib at packet pickup, and then you picked up your tracker the morning of the race. And then you had to wait in the line, the 45-minute line, what feels like 45. It's only like 5-minute line for the last stop at the porta potties.
The great porta potty line.
Yeah.
So, did you get up to the start line? How were you feeling?
I was feeling good. You know as well as most of our listeners know that have run ultras that, it's I don't get nervous or anxious when it comes to a race like this because you just know that you're going to be out there all freaking day, all freaking night, and then some of the next day. So there's really no nerves, or it's just like, let's get this thing started and let's kick it going. We went up to the front to take a picture, with the overhang or the little like starting line deal. And we just kind of stood there, and then they were like, oh, the race is starting in like 2 minutes. So I just like stepped off the curb, and I was at the front. I didn't know what I was doing up there, but I was like, I guess I'll just stand here. I wasn't like in the front, but I was, there was the starting front couple people, and then I was like right behind them. So I was probably like, I don't know, call it 10th or 12th, person to start the race, which was pretty funny. It's kind of rare of me to start the race that far up because I'm usually, let me start it in the back. But so I started, pretty far in the front. Obviously got passed by every single person immediately because the race starts out 2 miles on a paved road. And so everybody's just like hauling, myself included, doing way too fast, what I should have done. But I think my first mile was like a 9:30 or something stupid like that. Like, let's calm down a little bit. I don't need to be going this fast. This is mile 1 of 100. So let's calm down. So the first 2 miles on a paved road, and then we turn off on 2 miles on a gravel road. And so you're still, kind of cruising a little bit, throwing down pretty fast miles. But yeah, I let everybody just go. I was kind of in the pack for a minute, and I was like, I got to run my race. I'm not running anybody else's race. Let me not get caught up in this. Saw a lot of people that I knew were running the race, and it was cool because they passed me, was like, go on, do your thing. And we talked for 2 seconds, and then that was it. And you run your race, I'm going to run mine. And so, just let everybody go. But yeah, after that 4 miles, turned on single track. And then that first little bit was about a 1,300 foot climb up to the first aid station at about 10 miles. But man, I freaking flew on that first 10 miles, and it was 1,300 foot of climb, but it was so like, you didn't even notice you were climbing. I ran the whole time, which is weird. There wasn't any like real bumps that you had to like, do some power hiking up. But I was struggle busing because I could not get my heart rate down, and I couldn't understand why. I had a couple of like miles at like 170, and I'm like, why is my heart rate so high? I'm not putting in any speed that I'm not used to. There's no like real climb. I mean, 1,300 foot over 10 miles, that's not really that much climbing. A little over 100 foot a mile, 100 foot a mile. So it's really nothing that's out of the ordinary. I mean, the elevation was a little bit higher than what I used to, obviously, but it wasn't anything like serious. And I just could not keep my heart rate down. I couldn't understand it. Honestly, I did not lower my heart rate until mile 26.
Oh, wow.
And so I'll jump ahead a little bit and we can come back, but mile 26 is where you see your crew for the first time. And I think sitting down for a second, getting some, like, I was eating the whole time, but getting some food in me, like, just kind of calming down for a couple minutes as I was talking to my crew. And then from 26 to 33, that was the next section where I could see my crew again. It was an all downhill section, so it was just like a real easy cruise. It was on like a 2-track road, nothing hard, nothing you had to think about. And so I just was cruised. But man, for that first 26 miles, like, I could not keep my heart rate down, and it was insane. It was kind of scaring me because I was like, well, this is going to be redlining this whole race. But I wasn't going fast, it was weird. I was climbing where I needed to climb. I was stopping to eat. I never eat, like, as I'm running. I always kind of stop and eat. That's kind of something I've always done. But so I don't know what, to this day, I still don't know. I've been racking my brain on it, but I don't know.
I'm just going to say, were you wearing a chest strap, or was it just your wrist?
It was wrist, but based off, I could feel it. It wasn't just.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't
Okay.
just that my heart rate on my watch was high, and I understand people are like, "Oh yeah, your wristwatch,"
Yeah.
and like, and I say the same thing. It's completely inaccurate, but
Yeah.
I could feel that my heart rate was high.
Okay.
I could feel something was going on that shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have been going,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm looking at my watch constantly. I'm like, why is it so high? And then after that, I mean, like I said, a mile 40, mile 50, I'm like at 110, 120, where my heart rate 130 normally is. But I don't know.
Huh.
It was weird. But yeah, mile 10, that 10 mile came super fast. I think I did it in like 2 hours, which, 12-minute miles all the way up to the 10 miles. Pretty, that's fast for me. And then I think the next aid station was at 16 miles.
So the first one was 10 miles in. So
10
you had a
miles
little
in,
bit
yep. 10
so you had
miles
a little
in.
ways to go
Yep.
on the first
But like
one.
I said, the first 4 were on road, so those
Yeah.
were quick miles. And then so 16 was the next one, and then that was actually Taylor Spike. It was his aid station. And so the course was kind of like you started out as a straight line, and then you did a big loop, and then you came back to his aid station. So we hit his aid station twice.
Okay.
So we hit it once at 16, and then we hit it again at like 53, 54.
Halfway point.
But yeah, well, over the halfway point. Well, I mean, I guess halfway, but
Yeah.
a little bit over.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we hit his at like 16. And then 16, 17, and I think that was it until 26. I think there wasn't another aid station in there between 26. I
So
could be wrong. There might have been another little one, but I think
So the first 2 were no crew.
Yeah, the first 2 were no crew, and then we at mile 26 that was a crew. It was a big aid station. Cooking real big food, lots of food and stuff like that. It was a good one. And then after I left 26, it was like I said, that was a great all downhill aid station. So the climb was up to about mile 21. I think we hit about 4,000 foot once we got to mile 21. Then we cruised down into 26, and then continued to cruise down into 33. That was also another crewable aid station. That was a cool aid station that was put on by, I think, the Vantucky Trail Runners is what their name is. They had a red carpet you came into. Like, they had a bar at the end of the red carpet, huge aid station, couch to take pictures on. It was just a cool aid station. And so, you could kind of get caught up in that aid station probably pretty easily. But, yeah, good aid station. And that was at mile 33. I don't really remember 33 in between 33 and 48. I don't even know how many miles that is. I don't want to do trail math, but 33 to 48, 15 miles-ish, something like that. 48 was where the next stop was for crew.
Okay.
So they had the crew had a little bit of a section in between there that they could go hang out. Because what they said this race is super easy to crew because it was like 5-minute drive to the next one. It would take me hours to get to the next one, but it was like 5 or 10 minutes to their stop. So,
Lots of sitting and waiting.
Bend to Sisters, so it runs from Bend and starts in Bend and runs to Sisters. That's only like a 20 or 30-minute drive in between those two towns, and so I don't think the trails were too far off, but yeah, I don't remember much in that section. The whole race was just real pretty. They call it like high desert, which is weird because we were in the trees the whole time, but yeah, it was super pretty. The temperatures were great. It was like 60 degrees. It was a little humid. It was a little damp, which made it a little colder than what maybe people out there were used to. I was good.
I bet.
Yeah, I was good during the day, at least. But yeah, so the temperatures are great. No smoke from fires. no heat at all. There was not an ounce of heat. And then, got to 48, and then Nate decided to jump in at 48, and so that section is a 25-mile section before we see crew again. So essentially another marathon before we see crew again. So we're going from 48 to 73.
Okay.
So, I got there, the 48 at like 6:15. So my goal was to do the first 50 in 12 hours, and I didn't 48 miles, but I did the first half in 6 hours and 15 minutes. So I was pretty on point with where I wanted to be, knowing that I was not going to be able to do another 12-hour. I'm not that person. But, so you got in there at like 6:15, still tons of daylight left. And we had this 1,700-foot climb that we had to do, one of the biggest climbs of the race. But, man, so beautiful because it was big, long switchback. So you kind of go up half a mile, and then you switch back and come up the other side half a mile. And it was really cool because you would get to the top of that half mile, and then you could look out across, and you could just see like the sun peeking over the mountains. And then you would go up another half mile at the other side, and another view would come in. And so it was just pretty insane. And the sun was setting behind those mountains. And so, every time that you hit a switchback, you just hit a different view, and it just made it that much cooler.
So did you have picked up your headlight when you picked up Nate at 48?
Yeah, because, I was going to be, 25 miles. I had to pick up all of my jackets, my, headgear, my gloves, everything, because it was going to be they said at the top of the mountain it was going to be 20 degrees. And so I knew I was going to be off the mountain before, it really got cold, but, you just never know what temperatures are going to be. And you're going to be going for 25 miles, so you don't know how long really that's going to take you. So,
yeah. I was just thinking because, usually most hundreds you get crew access, but having to pick up your stuff a little earlier and haul that stuff with you.
Yeah.
It's probably a pain in the ass.
I think that the sun set at like 7:40, something like that. And then we almost made it to that next aid station, which was I think it was 7.5 miles. We almost made it there before we had to get on lights.
Okay.
We had to stop probably about a half mile before we got there to put lights on, just because it was all right, this is too dark. We're running in somebody else's headlamp, and it's just all right, and then they took off or fell back, whatever it was. And so we had to put on headlamps about half a mile out, but it was dark, but
yeah.
But yeah, but we had a 1,700-foot climb, so that section took a little bit of time, because 1,700 foot is nothing to
1,700 foot.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot in 7 miles. So
yeah,
and the first couple miles were kind of downhill into it, so it was probably the last 4 miles where the climb was. So it was pretty steady going, but we definitely had to put on lights before we get to the aid station. That was back to Taylor's aid station again, and so that at that point, that's when you start dropping down into going into Sisters. Okay. So basically, what you do is you run out of Bend, you do a big loop, like we said, back to his aid station at mile 54, and then you start dropping down into Sisters. So once we left that aid station, we had I don't even know how many miles, but we had another about 700 or 800 foot climb that we had to do, and then we started our descent. I think that section was about a 6 or 7 mile to that next aid station. I'm absolutely terrible when it comes to these aid stations, but it was about another 6 or 7 miles. And then the last one was a 9. I remember we had a 9-miler at the last. 9 or 10. Oh, actually, I think it was a 10. But the crazy thing about that section is it was a 2,500-foot descent.
Oh, wow.
And that descent didn't start until, out of that 10 miles, mile 3 or 4. And so it was a steep, technical, that's where, the rocks started coming in. All up until, all up until the the drop down into Sisters, it was like smooth, buttery trails, like just easy running. Like you didn't have to think about anything. There was no rocks, no roots, nothing. Once you started dropping down into Sisters, it was just like rocks everywhere. Like, you know, you're stepping on them, you're banging your toes, you're rolling your ankles. You're like, what is going on? This is a completely different place.
It'd be better if it was the opposite, right?
Yeah, I know, right? Like, let's get that stuff out of the way first, and then, you know, let's run it in reverse next year. Yeah, I remember that 2,500 foot descent. Yeah, that was pretty gnarly. My stomach started acting up in the middle of the night, probably around midnight. I'd been running pretty high carb, maybe a little bit higher carb than what I used to or maybe should be running, but I was running pretty high carb up until about midnight, and then I backed off pretty significantly. I normally do this anyways. I normally back off and kind of give my stomach a rest. I think I went too far. Normally it's like 10 or 11 o'clock, and then I think I went all the way till like midnight before I kind of backed off. But yeah, I just was like, it wasn't anything like, my stomach was upset, but it wasn't bad. You know, like we were still kind of doing the run walk type thing. You know, when you get later into a race, how you do. But like, I was burping a lot, and man, I had to stop and pee like every freaking felt like 15 minutes I was peeing, which I wasn't too upset with because I'm like, all right, I'm peeing. It's good. That means I'm still like hydrated. I'm drinking, so I'm okay with that. But I think maybe I was a little low on salts, and so that's what was causing that. You know, I'd taken Element throughout the day. I had taken salt pills. I was drinking broth, so I knew my salts were good. I wasn't sweating too much, but man, it started to get pretty cold when we were starting to drop down, because that section that was at 2,500 foot of drop, that was like an all exposed section. So there was nothing to block wind, and it was cold. It was damp still. It was, it was pretty gnarly. So, you know, I had a beanie on. I had this like paper thin jacket that I probably should have had something bigger. Everybody else was wearing like puffies. Had some gloves, you know, but yeah, made it down into mile 73, and that's where I dropped Nate off and picked up my second pacer, Lynnea.
How long were you spending at the aid stations?
I wouldn't say too terribly long. I'd have to go back and look, but I would say a couple minutes on the smaller ones. A couple minutes, nothing serious. On the bigger ones, you know, definitely spending a little bit more time. It was so sandy out there that I was getting tons of sand in my shoe. So I had the luxury of having a crew, and so I did a sock change at almost every aid station that I saw them, just because, you know, I'd rather take that extra couple minutes and not get blisters than, you know, have all this sand just grinding on my feet and be blistered up and be in a lot of pain. So I spent the extra time and, you know, was able to lube up my feet, put socks on, and change my I changed my shoes at 48, and then I changed back at like 90 because those shoes were just letting in so much sand. I think just because they were so wide around the base, I just didn't have them tight around the base or something. I don't know, but they let in a lot of sand. I some reason didn't wear gaiters. Normally I do. I wish I would have, but I was just looking back like coulda, shoulda, woulda type thing.
Yeah. Well, I think of Oregon, and I've been to Bend before, and I just think like rocky, high desert. I don't think of sand, so.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't something I thought of, but and the, you know, it rained on Thursday and Friday, and so like a lot of the dust, what they said was real dusty, wasn't dusty at all, just for the fact that it rained and kind of pushed it down. It wasn't muddy at all either. Just honestly, it was really, really nice.
So you pick
mile 73, picked up Lynnea. This was her first pacing gig. So
what time was this at?
I don't know exactly, but I think it was like 2:30 in the morning, somewhere around in there. And so starting out real early in the morning, you know, something she's never done. She's never paced. The initial plan was like we'll go for, because it was 11 miles to the next crew, and then it was 9 miles to the next crew, and then 4 to the end. So she didn't have to go nearly as far if she didn't want to. And so that first 11 miles, it was kind of just slow walking, running type thing, like run the downs where we could. I was even kind of walking the flats and walking the ups still, but it was mostly downhill. There was a couple little bumps here and there, but for the most part, it was, downhill. But stomach was still kind of bothering me a little bit. And so that was just the run walk type thing that we did. When we got to like 83, the next 84, the next aid station where we could see crew again, I put the original shoes back on because I was like, I need to get these wide shoes off and get my original shoes back on that didn't allow any sand to get into them. And at that point, the sun had already came up. I was starting to feel really good. Like, I get tired through the night too, just like everybody else. You start zombie walking and stuff. And so caffeine works sometimes, it works here and there, but
yeah,
with such long sections in between, like coffee and Coke, and I had a gel with caffeine, and that helped out a little bit, but still you're just zombie walking, or death marching, however you want to call it. But so rolling into that 84-mile aid station, the sun had come up. My mood was like really good. I was starting to feel really good. And from there to the finish line, man, we kicked it, and we kicked it hard. Leaving that aid station 84, there was a pretty good little climb, about 800 feet climb, but it was on a gravel road, and so it was easy. It wasn't technical. It was something you could kind of just turn your brain off and rock and roll. It wasn't hard. And so, we passed quite a few people there because we were moving, we were hiking well. And then once we got to the top of that aid station, so it was a 9-mile aid station, or 9-mile section. 5 of it was one section, and then there was just a water stop at 5 miles, and then you had 4 more miles until you got back to your crew again. So there wasn't a real aid station, it was just a water stop. We didn't even stop, we just kept rocking. And so, yeah, we did this thing. We had I had headphones, and this is funny because I had those open ear Shockwave headphones, right? But they're singular on each ear, right? They're not the connected ones. Yeah. And so I put one in, and I'm just like, all right, I'm going to run a song, walk a song, and that's what I'm going to do. And so we walked fast for one song, and we were running for one song. And if the hill was like too much, we would walk it. But if it was just kind of a little bump, we'd run up it, I was feeling good. We were doing it. And so we did that for the whole, that last 4 miles until that crew stop. And then I got there, and Lynnea's like, yeah, we're doing this run walk thing, but I don't have any music, so I can't jam and get on beat. And I was like, oh, well, I've had this other ear the whole time. So the last 4 miles to the finish line, I just gave her my earbud, and I was like, hey, here you go. So then we got to jam out with the same music. But I would say that last 8 to 10 miles, we passed 25 or 30 people.
Oh, wow.
Because we were cruising.
Nice.
On our runs, we were throwing I think 9s down, 839s on our run sections. We were freaking awesome. Moving it. And we were hiking at a 14-minute pace. And this is mile 90, And so, yeah, that last four miles, I was looking at the watch, and it was my goal was 28 hours. That was my goal. And I looked at my watch, and it was 27:15. And I was like, I think that we can do this last 4 miles in an hour. I said, I think that's pretty achievable. And so I was like, let's go. Let's rock and roll. And so we started running. It got back to the buttery smooth trail. So it was just kind of not even thinking about it. We were hiking at like a 14-minute pace. We were running at like a 9:30 pace. We were flying, and just having a great time. Honestly, like Lynnea was in the lead, and she just like took off, and I was just like following her footsteps and rocking and rolling. That was a fun 4-mile section, honestly. We passed so many people. It was great. All these people just like death marching and just like, obviously they're going to make it because they still had 4 or 5 hours to get there. But it just a great feeling because I've never really been on the side of being able to run into the finish line like that. I've always kind of been like the death marching. And so having that ability to just like kind of cruise and finish this thing, actually finish it, was just like such a cool feeling. And I don't know where that came from, but man, we kicked it and we kicked it hard. And it was really cool. We got to where I could see kind of like the road, and on the other side of the road was kind of like the school, and it finished at a middle school. But you could see like other buildings and kind of see where the school was. And from there, we just like, all right, let's freaking go. And then you had to cross the road, obviously, and then go in there. From that time till you get to a track and you have to do a lap around the track before you finish, we were throwing 8-minute miles down from that point to where the track was.
Dang.
And then at the track, I did the loop by myself, and I paced a 7:20 lap around the track. Dude, I was so pumped, dude. I don't know why. I don't know where this came from. I've never in my life, out of 500 milers, done this. But I was able to kick, and kicked really hard at the finish line. So, and then, of course, I had to do my famous heel click jump at the end too. So, the heel click jump across the finish line to secure it all.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think for me, to just be able to run at those later, later miles in a race, it comes to experience.
Yeah.
Like, you feel like shit. You already know you feel like shit.
Yeah, of course I felt like shit.
You're not going to feel any better, right?
Yeah.
You felt that before. There's nothing you can do to turn it around except to move a little faster to get it over with. I think that just comes with experience because, we've all had our death marches. Sometimes you come out of them. Sometimes you just death march the rest of the way, whatever it is. But I've found, I know with myself, it's like, well, if I want this pain to go away or I want this to be done, I'm going to have to start running.
Yeah.
And it's not going to feel good, but that's what I got to do.
Yeah, for sure.
And, Courtney made the pain cave popular. A lot of us can go somewhere else when the pain's really bad. And it sounds like that's what you're able to do this time, was whatever it was, go somewhere else and just keep on moving. And even though it probably sucked, you still enjoyed yourself. You knew the end was coming.
Yeah.
But you can put it away. And that's what I love about ultra so much, especially the longer distances, when you start to get that confidence in yourself. It's like, hey, I've been here before. Just push through it.
For sure.
It's going to suck, but if I want it to end, I'm in control of my destiny, and the only way it's going to end is when I cross the finish line.
Yeah.
But we know it doesn't end there.
No. Oh, and I never said the time. So we left that aid station at 27 hours, 15 minutes, and I crossed the finish line at 28:03.
28:03.
So, yeah. So definitely did way under an hour on that last
PR.
4 miles. And that was an hour and 1 minute PR. So super stoked.
Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It was a great race to PR for sure. The conditions were perfect. Like I said, the weather was ideal, and I think normal temperatures are like high 70s, and I think we got like maybe mid 60s. I mean, that Monday, like the race ended on Sunday, right? Monday it was 81 degrees. So,
oh man,
yeah, like it just that cold front came through just perfect, let us race, We didn't have any smoke. We didn't have any, everything condition wise was perfect. And
The universe finally was like, I'm not giving you any more heat.
Yes. I had complained enough about all the heat that I had to endure in every other single race, and so finally they were like, "All right, you know what? We're going to give you a little bit of chill, a little bit of cool. Let you get your little PR.
Now you know your next one's going to be miserable
Oh, it's going to be blazing hot.
or blazing or freezing cold.
Oh, yeah. Well, all right.
I'd rather deal with the cold because you can always warm up. But
Yeah,
you can't
I wish
cool
I would have
down.
brought something a little bit heavier. I have, obviously I have thousands of jackets that I could have wore living out here in Alaska, but I wish it would have been something a little bit warmer because I did get a little cold through the night. But it is
I want
what
to
it
know
is.
what you ate at the aid stations.
So I ate mostly at the aid stations. There was one aid station where they made it was weird. I thought it was a grilled cheese, but it was a grilled peanut butter sandwich. And I don't do peanut butter. I picked it up and I was like, "Oh, this isn't grilled cheese." And she's like, "No, it's grilled peanut butter." And so I kind of felt bad. I didn't want to just chunk it, so I took two bites out of it, and then threw the crust away. But of course, I burped that up for freaking forever.
Peanut butter. No.
Because I like peanut butter, but I just don't do well when I'm running.
No.
I did the typical broth and ramen, but I was burping broth up freaking all night and then all day. So yeah, I don't know. I had a lot of I don't know, like antacid or something like that was it just kept popping up, and it was just burping broth up. But yeah, the noodles worked great. I think maybe lay off the broth next time and just do the noodles, because I would do like a cup of broth and a cup of noodles too. So I think that just sticking to noodles work perfect for me. Honestly, it's good carbs. What worked really well for me was Precision 30 grams. Those little gels, I used those the whole time. They worked really well. I used the Cis Beta 40 grams. Those worked pretty good. What did not work was the Morton 160s. It was too much. Those are too heavy for me. I took one of them and I immediately knew. I was like, nope, it's not going to work. And so had to find a new plan. I had a bunch of stuff. So I had the Precision Gel 30 grams. I had the Cis Beta 40 grams. I had the Morton 160 40 grams. I had the Morton Chews 40 grams. Excuse me. I ate two of those early on in the race, and it was just so chewy, and I couldn't do them anymore. So I abandoned those. I was like, all right, I can't do these anymore. Too chewy. I kind of wish I would have went back to them through the night, because I think slower in the night, just kind of taking my time, I could have eaten those and done well with them. But you know how your brain gets when you're 50 miles in, you don't think about things like that. And so,
No.
so I didn't do those, but Precision 30s, those worked perfect the whole time. I think that was the perfect amount of gel. The consistency went down really well. I didn't have any issues. Everybody knows I like to run gels during a race. It's kind of what works for me. It is a bit more expensive to do it, but it works well. Ran cluster dextrin early on in the race too. And I kind of went real heavy on carbs early in the race, and I think that's what maybe messed my stomach up a little bit, because I was running such high carbs early. But I think that having that back store of carbs kind of allowed me to kind of back off a little bit throughout the night, and then able to pick it back up, in the daytime later on. But yeah, I was running pretty high carb. I was running over 100, probably for the first 12 to 14 hours. I was over 100 grams of carbs. And so,
Jeez.
yeah, because I was running scratch cluster dextrin with, I think they have 50 grams of carbs, and I was doing about a bottle of that every 2 hours. And then I was doing about 80 grams through gels an hour. So I was over 100 grams. But But yeah, I mean, you know, you can practice all you want, and sometimes race day kicks you in the face, and things just don't work. And so,
Yeah.
we know, you know, out there on Bandera when we were running together, those little chews worked perfect. But at this race, they just weren't. And so it's just, you know, the body tells you what it does and what doesn't want on race day, and sometimes you have to overcome. But yeah, when it comes to like aid station affair, like all the food, I don't really like, I don't partake, just because my stomach is so sensitive, and I know that, and so I would like to just like devour all the candy and all that stuff, but I know like 5 miles later I'm going to be paying for it, so probably not even 5 miles, but so I stick to just the boring stuff, my gels and my noodles. I do a sparkling water like a LaCroix at the aid stations. You know, I always do Coke, ginger ale, coffee, that type of stuff. But yeah, nothing super fun. Quesadilla, I think I had a quesadilla here and there, but yeah.
Well, I'm glad you got to experience the ramen burps all night.
Yeah, they're terrible.
That's what happened to me in Nightcrawler.
Oh God, they're so bad.
It was
So
horrible.
bad.
Yeah, it's just yeah. That's why I was like, I'm the same. It's like I'll just do the noodles, no broth, because
Yeah.
I don't know, that was bad. But I tried something I've never done before. I remember at Leadville, they used to have an aid station, a fish hatchery. They don't longer do it there anymore, but they were known for their ramen there. But they put soy sauce in the broth. Then, if you wanted more, just to add more salt.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, "You got to try it." And I'm like, "I don't really want to do ramen noodles and run." And they had those little like mouthwash cups.
Yeah.
So I told them to put a little in there, and I tried it, and I'm like, "No." Then what do? I do it at Nightcrawler.
Yeah. Normally it hasn't been an issue, but for some reason this race it was. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think just, you know, you live and learn, and next time you just do the noodles and not the broth, and so then that'll help.
Or maybe next time you try a little broth and then nothing happens.
Could. Yep. Honestly.
Yep.
That's ultra. Things
Yep.
things pop up that have never popped up before, and things that have popped up because of some reason won't. So, you know, that's the stupid ultra for you.
So after every 100, I always ask you the same question. What'd you
What's
learn
that?
about yourself?
You know, that's a great question. And honestly, I've thought about it, and I came to the conclusion that I have a lot more in the tank than what I originally thought. You know, I've always said, like, joke that I'm, you know, back of the packer type thing. Well, obviously this race proved that I'm not. I think I finished like 110 out of like almost 300 people. So, definitely, you know, moving up, moving on up. But yeah, I learned that I have the potential to do well, and I think that I need to get out of my own head, and I think that that's what's kind of holding me back. I used to be coached by Eve, and Eve would often tell me that you don't know your potential yet. And I think she knew that I was holding myself back. And so, you know, everybody knows my Bandera story where I had my sleeves on my feet. It was cutting circulation off to my sleeves on my legs, cutting off circulation off my feet. But I continued to do the race in some of the most pain that I've ever done. And, you know, it taught me a lot about myself in that race, that I will push myself and push myself. And my wife told me after this race, she goes, I feel that somebody is going to have to pull you off of the course before you'll quit, you know, so like have to be a serious freaking injury before you're going to pull off the course, like broke a leg type thing. So I know that I have a strong mind in that sense, but having the ability to do what I did for those last 10 miles on this race showed me that I have a lot of more potential that I have not unlocked yet. And I want to explore that and see where that's at and how do I get to it. And so that's what I learned about myself on this one. I knew you were going to ask it, and I'd already planned it. So, yeah, I mean, being able to, we were doing the run walk thing, but like I said, we were hiking at a really fast pace. Like a 14-minute mile hike is fast for a hike. Mm-hmm. And then throwing down 9-minute miles at mile 90 plus, like, for some average dude like me, that's quick.
Yeah.
It's quick for me. So I was, that showed me a lot, honestly. And to be able to do a 720 split around the track, like, who is that? Everybody, like, after I finished, they were like, dude, that was the most impressive finish I've seen. They're like, where did that kick come from? I'm like, I don't know. I haven't seen it before.
I love it. I'm excited to see where this next little chapter takes you with exploring.
Yeah, me too.
So before we finish up, what gear did you use?
Yeah, well, it's pretty boring. I started the race out with Brooks Cascadias. Those are some of my favorite shoes. They're the lower cushion shoe, but not terribly uncushioned. Obviously, just wearing all Brooks gear. And then I was wearing the Uswe Pace 14 liter pack. And then I switched over at mile 50 to the Calderas, the more cushioned Brooks shoes. I love those shoes, but just for some reason the sand and dust was getting into the shoes, and at mile 90 I was done with it, and so I switched back. It might have been mile 85. I don't remember what mile it was. And then 15 miles from the finish. So I switched back to the Cascadias because they were just working well. So, but yeah, pretty boring. Nothing serious. I kind of already covered my nutrition, but yeah, Brooks shoes, Brooks shorts, Brooks shirt. Wearing the Brooks canopy jacket. Repping my White Mountain 100 beanie.
Hell yeah.
Some Craft gloves. Craft makes amazing winter gear, so Craft gloves. And then a Uswe 14-liter Pace 14-liter pack. It has tons and tons of room for everything that I needed. And then my Lecky poles, they stayed with me pretty much the whole race. So I think I took them, I gave them back at mile 26, and I picked them back up at 48. And then I had them the rest of the race. But I would, when I was running with them, I'd just kind of take them off and just throw them in my hands and go. But yeah, that was the gear. Nothing crazy.
We'll give it's time for your shout outs now. Got to shout out your crew.
Yeah, definitely got to shout out the Crew Legit to Quit crew. First off, let me shout out Death March Running Company for hooking my crew up with the Crew Legit to Quit shirts and sweatshirts. They were the most swagged out crew on the course, so appreciate the hookup on that. Nate, Lynnea, Bethany, definitely couldn't have done it without you guys. Bethany getting on her knees and taking care of my feet at mile 73 was crazy, mile 86 or something like that, relubing the feet. So she's never afraid to get in there and get dirty, wiping my feet off, and when I can't bend over anymore to lube them back up. But we came out with 0 blisters and definitely could not have done it at all without any of them. But you got to have your main crew chief, and Bethany's just rock solid when it comes to that. Nate, he's paced me before at Bighorn. We ran Hill Creek together. Solid pacer, knows really, really well how to take care of a runner. And so he did a phenomenal job getting us up that climb and then that long down descent. So awesome job. And then Lynnea stepped in, first time pacer, but you wouldn't be able to tell. She rocked it and knocked it out of the park and was able to help me rally and push through. and then the amazing content she took as well. All of my videos you're seeing on social came from Lynnea. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
but yeah, I definitely could not have done it without the crew and the Pacers. I say it all the time, but I'll say it again. Ultra running is an individual sport made possible by a team. And so I'll stand by that every single time.
Well, let's end it there.
Awesome. See you guys on the trails.